Hello and welcome to Series 3 of the Masterclasses given by members of the Royal Marines Band Service. I'm Sgt Andy Platt, and it's no surprise today that I'll be for the next hour giving you a masterclass on life as a guitar player in the Royal Marines Band Service. So what we're going to do then for the next hour? Well, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about myself, my musical background, then going to move on to my career in the band service. And then we're going to move on to the more nuts and bolts of guitar playing in the job. So the kind of styles that you're expected to play whilst in the band service, and also the sort of methods of teaching, syllabus kind of stuff that's taught at the Royal Marine School of Music in Portsmouth. We're then going to move on, start doing a bit of playing with some warm-ups, and then we're going to really get down to it with some repertoire, some of the stuff that I've played predominantly on the Albert Hall for the Mountbatten Festival of Music. So we'll be looking at some of those tunes that I've played and how I've got round them and stuff like that. I'm going to leave questions till sort of towards the end of the masterclass, say about 10 to, and then shortly after we'll just quickly summarise what have we learned, what have I told you, and then I'll leave you in the capable hands of our recruitment specialist, Band Corporal Amy Phillips, who will be answering all your questions about the wider band service, not just necessarily guitars or anything like that. Don't forget, we've got a hashtag that if you want to upload a vid or a comment, that's RMBS Masterclass. So please crack on and do that. Can't promise that I'll be able to reply while I'm playing and whatnot. I'm busy talking to you because there's quite a lot to get through over the next hour. So let's carry on then. So about me. So I was born and bred in Portsmouth. And I started playing guitar at the age of 13. From what memory serves, I think I robbed, my sister had an acoustic guitar, I robbed it from her and I just started noodling about. Followed a book, and then obviously carried on through sort of college and just got sort of progressively better and better. Got into guitar-based music, rock, metal, indie, you know, that kind of stuff. And I just sort of went from there. Really started to get serious when I went to university for 4 years up in the good old South Yorkshire, Barnsley College of all places, and I studied popular music there, and that was a lot of performance and composition based work. A little bit of a name drop, the Arctic Monkeys actually went to Barnsley College as well, clearly not in the same time frame that I did, probably about 10 years apart. Okay, so I successfully graduated from university, and then joined Clubland. So if you've ever watched Phoenix Nights and all like that kind of stuff, I was performing in all those places, sort of before and after and in between the bingo. That was interesting, a lot of travelling, and again sort of cutting my teeth as a guitar player. I learnt a lot of things, both for the good and for the bad. I kind of got a little bit disenchanted with that and sort of returned back home to the south of England. And it was my dad actually who pointed me in the direction of joining the Royal Marines Band Service in 2004. So I did my 15 weeks basic training based in Portsmouth, and then went on to 3 years at the Royal Marines School of Music. So officially, on paper as it were, I play the French horn. But obviously I took my guitar skills into the job with me, and I got utilised a fair bit in training, but obviously it was all about, you know, getting the horn cracked, getting that learned and played. So just be aware that you may be required, if should you want to join us, you may be playing sort of 2, maybe 3 instruments. So just keep very open-minded about that, thinking about joining up. I've served in Plymouth Band and Portsmouth Band. I did Plymouth Band from 2007 till 12, came back to Portsmouth, and now I've come back to Plymouth since 2017, where I am now. Music aside, operationally, I went to Afghanistan in 2009 as part of a 36-strong band of volunteers, basically, and I did 3 months there, and basically we were attached to a medical squadron, so it was a lot of driving, radio operating, logistics, moving various items of kit and things like that, all in and around Bastion. And I managed to go outside the wire, as we say, on a couple of patrols. Interesting. Long time ago now, but you know, I'm glad I've done it, and it's worth mentioning that obviously join the band service, you join the military. There's a chance that you may go to these not so nice places every now and again, but it's character building. It makes you think, makes you appreciate what you've got back on home soil. Wasn't all just music though. We did take a 6-piece rock band out there called AWOL, and that was just so bizarre, playing in a desert to some Danish soldiers or US Marines and things like that. But that went down really well, raised a bit of money for Help for Heroes, and just a great sort of feather in my cap, playing in a rock band in Afghanistan. Crazy stuff. So in terms of travel, I've gone across the globe. It's been great. Just a few countries that I've visited: New Zealand, Canada, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Sweden, Switzerland, Bavaria and Egypt. Now that wasn't necessarily work related. It was what we call adventurous training. So I did some scuba diving in Egypt and a whole load of activities in Bavaria, designed to sort of get you out of your comfort zone, just push your limits a little bit. So it's not all work. It's a bit of fun. Where else have I been? Holland and the Isle of Wight. So some real top class places. It's been my 15 years has been a very good career. I've been really privileged and feel proud to have done some amazing stuff on the guitar. My top 5 highlights, I'll just reel them off now. So number 1 has to be the Skyfall premiere, the James Bond film. That was in 2012, October. I got to play that riff on the Albert Hall stage. It's like, it's every guitar player's dream, surely. And then we got to watch the film afterwards as well. It was fantastic. What else? So I've done a couple of solos at the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. That was in 2011, and then the last one in 2017. It was it was during the fireworks towards the end of the actual show. And it was a Procol Harum 60s band, a song called Conquistador, and I got to do a blazing guitar solo on that, and there was smoke and fire and lights, and it was just amazing. I got on TV, which was way beyond cool. Another good one. That I've done several solos at the Mountbatten Festival of Music. Again, that's performed at the Royal Albert Hall. I'll go through a lot of these later on, things like Pink Floyd, Queen, that kind of stuff. I've also a more sort of quieter and emotive side of performing. I've accompanied some people out the front there with just vocals and acoustic guitar. Arguably much more nerve-wracking than trying to nail an electric guitar solo. But what a moment that was. Real sort of just like nerves are on edge. It's very bare, it's very raw, but what an impact that these pieces have with the audience, and we'll be looking at one of those later on. Where are we now? Number 4, me and a good old friend of mine, Ellie Lomas, we managed to get our way onto the Chris Evans Breakfast Show. I think that was probably back in 2013. She recorded a song, again we'll be looking at that later. Chris Evans heard it, he liked it, he invited us onto the show, we played it. And then straight after we had to jump in a taxi across London to record for the BBC Festival of Remembrance. So it was quite a strange but rewarding day. That was good. And then finally, last highlight's probably a function band gig I did in Abu Dhabi. It was amazing. We played in this hotel, and honestly, it was like rock star for a couple of nights. Great accommodation. The food was just amazing. The sun was beating down. We played outside. There's people in the pool dancing along to us doing our gig, and then we just got treated so well afterwards. It was, it's a good memory, that. That will stay with me for a while. So let's look at some style. Excuse me, I'm just changing my notes. So if you want to join the band service then, as a guitar player, what's expected of you, styles wise, and again, how are you going to be taught? So I've just mentioned a few ensembles there, but so we've got things like function band. That's obviously, guitar's key to that. You can't really have a function band without a guitar. and that encompasses quite a few genres of music, so pop, soul, funk, rock. You'll have plenty of opportunity to solo and, you know, just sort of cut loose and improvise, play with lots of different tones, effects and things like that. So it's a real guitar player's sort of a melting pot there. It's good. Big band. So yeah, basically the kind of like jazzier side of the band service. Mainly that involves kind of like jazz harmony and jazz chords, a lot of comping, you know, 2-5-1s, that kind of thing. Yeah, you know, lots of like embellished chords and things like that. We'll be looking at an example of that later on, and sort of how to get around that, and certain voicings and that kind of thing. Ceilidh band, so the sort of Irish fiddle band with the baran as well. That's just a whole lot of fun. That's just basically strap on an acoustic, strum away, maybe a little bit of finger picking. You're very much left to your own devices there. It's just great fun. You just kind of rhythmically comping, just sort of keeping that engine room of Ceilidh music going, nice and sort of simple. You can be used on guitar in the orchestra. People have played before Luke concertos that have been arranged for classical guitar. There's a piece called Romanza by Salvador Bacarist that was released, when was that? I think it was 2010. That was on MFM as well. We've already mentioned you could be an accompanist yourself on guitar and just a singer. Maybe even just a solo guitar, so, you know, some nice sort of classical solo works, that kind of thing. Wind band, that's kind of like quite a big bulk of band service life, other than parade, but we don't do guitars on parade, at least not yet, and well, I strongly not really into that. But wind band is where we basically really, that's really our kind of bread and butter, and you could be playing a whole load of styles yet again in the wind band. So electric, that could be clean like electric, or a rock based electric guitar, acoustic guitar, classical guitar, maybe a bit of, you know, again, jazz, that kind of thing. So lots of varying styles, so there's a lot to encompass, a lot to get through, a lot to learn, a lot to appreciate as a guitar player in the band service. So how are you taught? Well, like I said, you join up, you do a certain amount of weeks of basic training, and I won't lie to you, you won't see an instrument until you successfully pass out of that, phase 1 as we call it. You then go to the Royal Marines School of Music, where you'll be assigned an instrument, of course, a professor and an instructor. Currently the instructor's a good friend of mine, Colour Sergeant Rich Sharp, good guitar player as well, plays in a lot of ska bands, and the professor is a chap called Rob Harrell, very accomplished gentleman that he is. Now, the syllabus is based, or it's very similar to the Trinity Rock School syllabus from grades 1 to 8. So if you're already learning that, or you've had sight of it, and you are thinking of joining, then you're very much on the right track. So whatever's in those books, or, you know, whatever information it gives you, just you know, suck it in and get learning. One other important method that they use is the caged method. Okay, so I'll be honest with you, I don't know it that well, but basically it's a method or a system of unlocking the guitar neck just using 5 chords, and no surprise that they are C, A, G, E and D, i.e. that spells caged. So you learn those first, so the sort of primary open string chords as we call it, so C, A, G, E, D, and then you they all sort of come in form, so that's form 1, and then you learn form 2 and things like that, and it basically just allows you to sort of creep up the neck, so you find out where else you can play the chord of C. So not only there, but there, where else, there, and so all the while you're creeping up the neck, you're learning the notes. Basically, you know where to put your fingers, and there's lots of exercises that's involved with that. So again, if you're into the cage method, you're on the right tracks. And that basically it's a good method, worth learning. So guitar players, by and large, you know, when it comes to reading music, yes, you know, obviously in the band service we expect you to read music. Now, I'll put my hand on my heart here and say that I still now sort of have to take my way into a dark room and sort of get round some of this guitar music that's written in notation. Tab is being explored, and so it should be, as I learned playing guitar tab, and I've not looked back since, and it's just an instantaneous way of getting that information off the page. So for those of you that aren't aware of tab, rather than having a 5-lined stave as you would with notation on it, it's a 6-line stave, which basically corresponds to every string on a guitar. So if you're playing bass tab, you'll have 4-line stave, and on each stave you'll have numbers. So basically that's where that represents the fret where you put your fingers, and that's basically the bare bones of tab. It's a great tool, and I've tabbed out a lot of stuff that I've played on MFM and all these other solos and things like that. Lead sheets as well, things like that. You may just get, especially with things like big band, just like a load of chords thrown on a sheet of music, and just rhythm slashes, so no dots or anything like that. So then that's up to you to interpret, what chord it is, whereabouts on the neck you should play it. Thinking about voicings again. But that's kind of the fun part about being a guitar player. Is there's so many, you can play so many different things on so many parts of the neck, and it's all about finding the right tone and things like that. So there's a lot of experimentation that goes on as well. But yeah, if you're not reading music, start reading music. It will help you no end, and obviously keep that tab in your back pocket. And again, just perhaps grab some lead sheets and things like that, and just sort of busk through some jazzy sort of harmony and chords and things like that. That's probably the best advice that I can give you, and obviously just keep on practicing. Right then, that is pretty much enough talking, so we're going to move into the warm-up phase now. So, to be honest, there's so many different warm-up exercises out there. You could spend the whole day warming up and then miss your rehearsal or your gig. So perhaps try and focus your warm-up on what it is you intend to be doing that day or that gig, or there's a bit in a piece of music that's really, you just can't nail it. So maybe find an exercise within your warm-up routine that will help you get around that. But my sort of bog standard first go-to exercise is what I just call 4 fingers. So basically it's first, second, third and fourth finger, starting on the low E string on the first, second and fourth fret, then up to the A string, then up to the D string, then up to G, B and E. So and then up a semitone, up a fret, and then down. And on. So you get the idea, and you can go as far up the neck as you want, go bananas with that. Vary it as well, so you can perhaps do it in triplets. Yep. Shuffle it maybe, like a sort of like a rooty tooty tooty kind of thing. Yeah. What else can we do? We could double notes if you want. So sort of a down and an up stroke with the right hand. So you're practicing your alternate picking as well. Yeah, all the way up, all the way down, all the way across the neck. Another sort of techniques that guitar players use. So maybe palm muting or something like that. You get the idea, so on and so forth. I then move on to a slight variant of that, just simply called 2 fingers. So rather than having all 4 fingers go on the first 4 frets of the E string, it's just the first 2. Then you move up to the A string, the 3rd and 4th finger on the 3rd and 4th fret, and then repeat all the way up the strings, and then all the way along the fingerboard. Ad nauseum, you get the idea. And again, you can employ the the same techniques that we did with the 4-finger warm-up, so you can put triplets into that, shuffle it, palm mute it, all that kind of thing. I then kind of move on to, I believe I got this exercise from John Petrucci, guitar player with Dream Theater, and he's quite a handy fella, so you know, if it's part of his warm-up, you've got to be on tour runner, haven't you? So I kind of call this broken chords. It's like an arpeggio of basically majors and minor chords, and what you're doing is kind of skipping a string each time, so you're kind of practicing with that missing the string in the middle type of thing. So we'll try that again. So obviously someone needs to do some practice on those ones. There we go, so you can do that in the major or hopefully in the minor. You get the idea anyway. So yeah, they're available on no doubt one of John Petrucci's warm-up books or something like that. Ribena break. I then move on to sort of like more traditional arpeggios, so you know, just a simple sort of major arpeggio or a minor one. Okay, you can also play that in what I would sort of call a stretched position, and I do actually prefer it as well, because you sort of just loosening up your fingers a bit more, and just exploring the fretboard as well. So okay, so it's a bit of a stretch, but you're, you know, like I said, you're sort of getting further up the neck and just exploring a bit more. So else we've got dominant sevenths as well, so that would help with your sort of big band, your jazz playing kind of thing. Yeah. And major sevenths, do like these ones as well. Obviously, you know, don't just do it on one in one key. Move about, move strings and things like that sort of thing. So yeah, more practice required on those. Too much gardening over lockdown, that's what it's been. Yeah, that's it for sort of traditional arpeggios. Now we go into sort of scales. Again, you can spend weeks warming up with scales and things like that, but again, experiment with where you can play them on the fretboard, basically. So if we take G major, for instance, other than the sort of open position scale, we're normally, as guitar players, going to start on the 3rd fret. Okay, yep. But again, you can use that sort of stretched position of playing the scale as well. Yeah. And then what else? You can do sort of do it in thirds. And then finish off with a nice arpeggio. Nailed it, yes. Then sort of perhaps sort of work on your right hand technique, so sort of playing in a sort of semi-quaver type pattern. So yeah, things like that. Just experiment. You know, I mean, scour the net, YouTube. There's loads of videos of people's variations of that kind of thing. You can also apply this to you know, other types of scales, so things like pentatonics and modes and things like that. So Mixolydian, that's quite a sort of a easy entry level mode, as it just drops the flattens the 7th of a major scale. So yeah. And then you can adopt all the sort of different types of exercises with that, and don't forget your palm muting, playing in triplets, shuffling, that kind of thing as well. It all helps. And then of course, you know, no guitar player is complete without minor pentatonics and blues scales and things like that, and that kind of works as well. You know. So on and so forth. You know, again, you can go blue in the face playing that kind of thing, but yeah, that's kind of like a go-to scale for a guitar player, and that or minor pentatonics or blues. So you know, obviously I'd take a little bit longer on those warm-ups, you know, because clearly I need to practice them, and then I'd move on to just basically having a bit of fun. So basically banging out some of my favourite riffs, turning up the guitar, just having a listen to my tone. Is my tone okay? Do I need to, you know, drop some mid, or you know, just tweak some top or things like that? Have I got enough gain? Have I got, you know, too much gain, kind of thing? So yeah, let's turn it up a little bit. So I normally sort of migrate to what I call the rage riff, because it reminds me a little bit of a Rage Against the Machine type of riff, something that Tom Morello would concoct from his mind. So it's loosely based on a blues, blues scale. So. And again, using a bit of palm mute in there, and it's getting all the fingers moving, and it's just, you know, just a little bit nasty, a little bit of fun. What else do I like? Always migrate to Mr. Brownstone by good old Guns N' Roses. Don't know why, it's just a cool riff. So yeah, it's good. I mean, it involves a little bit of lead playing, tiny little bit of lead playing, and a bit of palm muting as well. So on the subject of Guns N' Roses, a little bit of a dip for you, as we say. Legend has it that the intro to Sweet Child of Mine did start as a warm-up, one of Slash's kind of warm-ups. I think back in the day it was Izzy Stradlin, the original rhythm guitar player, said, "That's a cool riff, man. Let's do something out of it." So they obviously perhaps played around some chords and stuff like that, and rather than it just being one of his warm-up exercises, it became one of the most iconic, you know, intros ever on the guitar. Which I've just ruined. I do apologise. Obviously a little bit nervous. What else? Bit of Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. That one. Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and you know, lots of other sort of metal kind of things. Just stuff to get the fingers moving, basically. Yeah, so that's basically it for warm up. So let's move on to repertoire and see how I get on with that. So we're going to start, like I said, with the more sort of quieter aspect of guitar playing in the band service. And the example I'm going to give you is a song called "Feels Like Home." So my friend Ellie and I, yeah, like I said, we got to play this at MFM and on Chris Evans' Breakfast Show. And it was just a real sort of good time of my career, and it was great. Really sort of I don't know, enjoyable. What it is about accompanying is the sort of key elements are you need to pamper to your soloist's whim. So in music, soloists, be it instrumental or vocal, you know, they like to sort of hold things back or push things on, turn corners as we call it. So it's up to you as an accompanist to sort of keep an ear and maybe an eye out on what's going on, anticipate what's coming ahead. Like, you know, are they going to sort of like, you know, sort of do a bit of a row there, hold something back? Then you've got to try, you know, you've got to go along with them and support them all the way. So what I also want to talk about is for those of you that have just seen, I've just put this contraption on the neck of my guitar. It's a capo, or as the Americans call it, a capo. And this is one of the best tools that you can ever have as a guitar player. So it just allows you to play in different keys, but using, I mean, easier chords is probably the most simple way of putting it, but you know, it also allows you to keep that sustain and sort of simplicity and open stringness that you'd get if you were playing it as sort of you know, in sort of open C down here. However, my friend Ellie, she wanted to sing it in E flat. Not a problem. Bang a capo on, away we go. Great bit of kit, and you'll be seeing it hopefully a little later on as well. So yeah, the kind of stuff, it's just simple sort of, I say simple finger style, it's, you know, it's just nice and mellow and it's a beautiful song, beautifully sang by Ellie. It's you probably find it on YouTube. We did it at MFM. It's on iTunes. As are most of these examples, I'm going to give you a lot of them are on the band service MFM CDs. So yeah, you know, nice simple chords. Obviously, it's a bit of an odd key, flat, not very guitar friendly key, but bang a capo on, Bob's your uncle, and then you can just keep that lovely sort of open stringless rather than sort of like, you know, trying to fumble around with bar chords. It's just a lot more more freer. So that was Feels Like Home. Moving on, similar sort of vein, but a little bit more grand. It's a song called February Song. Now this was a trombone solo that was performed by one of our guys, obviously, Colour Sergeant Matt Bowditch, I think on the 2016 MFM. It involved the whole wind band, but obviously it had sort of like an underlying guitar pattern as well. And there were elements where I think, if I remember rightly, was just me supporting Matt playing. So yeah, again, sort of like nerve-wracking stuff. You know, you don't want to let your oppo down, as it were, kind of thing. Again, good old capo, remains on the 3rd fret, so it allows me to play in a flat key. And this employed a bit of I think it's plectrum technique, and then just into sort of, as the tune built, just into strumming as well. So I think it starts just on a, just simple chords, that kind of thing, just sort of keeping out of the way but keeping that engine running, and it kind of picks its way through as the song builds. We basically just go from sort of picking single strings to just full on sort of rhythm comping, just simple sort of stuff. Kind of stuff, and then yeah, it just builds and builds, you know, chorus. That kind of thing. You can have a good old you know, good old sort of thrash around with that and sort of sit back and relax once you're kind of out of the exposed part of the piece. Similarly as well, I was privileged enough to play Stairway to Heaven an MFM. I think that was 2018. Very similar sort of thing. So it started off with just like single string picking, and then it built into rhythm accompaniment for both the singer and the guitar player as well. And that was just a real great moment to have the singer just blazing away the vocal part, and then the other guitar player, Lance Corporal Matt Gregory, just absolutely give it beans on the electric guitar. And don't get me wrong, I was jealous. I would have loved to have done the solo, but to support him rhythmically was just amazing, because the pressure was off then. I got to watch him absolutely tear it up, and that was so much fun. Okay, so that's enough of the acoustic. Let's move back to the electric and look at some kind of big band, jazzy type stuff. If I can find the music for it. So a vocal number that often crops up in the big band repertoire in the Royal Marines Band Service is one called Orange Coloured Sky. Don't ask me who wrote it, because I don't know. We definitely don't want a dirty sound for it. So yeah, it's a lot about tone with big band, and definitely knowing your jazz chords and jazz harmony. So let's see how I get on with this. So what I want to get at with the big band element of it is, you needn't get spooked with all these like weird and wonderful crazy chords, like massively embellished, or like slash chords where you've got different notes in the bass. Or what you've got to remember is, there's a clue in the title of the ensemble, it's a big band. You've got about 4 trumpets, 4 saxes, 4 trombones. You've got a pianist that's just going up and down the keyboard. Don't feel obliged to play like some crazy chords that you get, because you can bet your bottom dollar like one of the other instruments in the ensemble will be playing that note. Obviously you want to challenge yourself and nail those heavily embellished chords, 6/9, that kind of thing. F sharp minor 7 flat 5, but perhaps just take a couple of steps back, play the sort of bare bones of it, and then build up to it. So the sort of first 4 bars or so of this, so we've got G major 7, E7, A minor 7, F sharp 7, B minor 7, C major 7, A7, A minor 7, and then it repeats, but it embellishes a little bit. So we've got and then it does that cycle again, but instead of a G major 7, it's a G major 9. Now this particular chord still ties me in knots. What we got? So we've got yeah, I mean, but to be honest, you could probably still play a G major 7 and get away with it. So yeah, G major 7 again to E7, although when the sort of chord structure repeats, it's an E7 sharp 9. Or as we say in the trade, the Jimi Hendrix chord. So rather than just sort of bog standard E7, yeah, you've got, just adds a different bit of colour. So yeah, try and get that sort of sharp 9 in. And yeah, voicings. What else we've got? We've got D13s and things like that. So you've got a 13. You can see that it's quite a bit of stretch for the little finger there, or you could play it up there. Don't forget, there's lots of different areas on the fretboard where you can play chords, i.e. different voicings. 13s, you can probably get away with a 7th, but obviously just continue to push yourself and learn these chords and get your fingers around them and things like that. Yeah, it's just a great vocal number, and no lead in this particular one. It's just all comping, and it's just it's all about being an integral part of the rhythm section. You need to be sat right in with that drummer and that bass player, just comping away. So on and so forth, that kind of thing. Yeah, when it comes to voicings, so if we take a sort of typical C7 chord right down at the bottom of the neck, so I don't think you'd want to hear all those notes, especially because sometimes these big band numbers come at quite a lick, so you want to perhaps have something a bit more simple up your sleeve. So I'd just play, rather than having, so what do we have there? We had the root, the third, the 7th, the octave, and the 3rd above that. Well, I'd sack the B and the E string off and just have root, 3rd and 7th. Do you really need a 5th? No, you want the colour from the chord, so you want the 7th and the 3rd, and maybe just the root, so you know where you are kind of within the whole harmonic process of it. And that's only 3 fingers, and you can cut about the fretboard much easier then, you know. Maybe you don't like playing it down there, it just doesn't sound right to you. Okay, well, maybe play it up here then. So rather than playing that bar chord of C7, knock a load of notes out. You don't need a 5th. Okay, yeah, get your thumb involved. Worked for Jimi Hendrix, didn't it? And yeah, just you know, I can't tell you enough to experiment. Make life easy for you. You know, you don't want to be jumping all around the neck when you've got, like, you know, 4 chords per beat or 2 chords per beat or something like that. So, right, what can where's the nearest, you know, A minor 7 to that F sharp 7, and can I get away with it? And does it sound good? You know, I freely admit, a big band, you know, and sort of jazz humming is still very much a dark art to me. I'm still kind of learning. Quite happy to sort of comp. Yeah, when it comes to soloing, yeah, a little bit out of my comfort zone. You know, normally just migrate to a blues, doesn't always work, it's a bit embarrassing. But yeah, I can just sort of chug away, engine room kind of stuff, and it's good fun. It's a real challenge. When I first started learning big band, actually, in the band service, I can remember the information you had to process was so much. I used to have to go and have a lie down after the rehearsal. You know, my head was just banging with all these chords. So yeah, that's big band. A bit, you know, sort of a bit of a sort of brief overview, but time's moving on, so I hope you got something out of that. What should we move on to now? Right, let's get a bit sort of let's get a bit loud. So let's move on to so in 2014. One of our chaps used to be in the band service, Colour Sergeant Andy Deacon, not only a great sound engineer, recorder, broadcast engineer, you know, this guy's, you name it, he's done it. He also arranged the theme to Avengers Assemble, and basically asked me to do a bit of guitar for it, or help him, you know, sort of tab it out basically. So that was a real help to me. And we're going to sort of like delve into altered tunings now. So obviously you've got your guitar remains in standard tuning, but probably the next sort of logical step is to drop your low E to a D. I'm sure a lot of you out there that play guitar know exactly what I'm talking about, and it is used like a lot in music. You know, bands like, well, there's so many bands to mention. I'm just trying to, might as well just play some examples instead. So there we go. So yeah, Reef, Place Your Hands, that's in drop D. Oh, a lot of Rage Against the Machine is in drop D. Practically everything that Rage have done is in drop D. So it just adds a little bit of a bit of low end, and you know, something a little bit different to the ear. Soundgarden, Tool, they use drop D, and a whole load of other tunings. So yeah, I took it upon myself to basically drop that low E so I could get a real sort of like nice grunt and a chug, as we call it in the trade, for the beginning of the Avengers Assemble tune. So on and so forth. Yeah, that was just great fun to play. You know, just turn it up, drop that low E, and away we go. It was good fun, good fun. So yeah, you know, altered tunings. If you haven't experimented, then there's a wealth of them out there. There was another piece that I was going to sort of give as an example, but time's running out. So it's called Invincible. It's by I think they're a Scandinavian duo called Two Steps from Hell. Song called Invincible, and I actually got another guitar for that. Put some lower, heavier gauge strings on it, and tune the guitar down a whole tone, and then the low E, which was then a D, down to C, if you get me. Sorry, it's turned into a bit of an algebra lesson. So that was in drop C, and that was just low and heavy and dirty, and it really fitted the mood of the piece, and that was great fun to just thrash away on. Fortunately, they're running out of time. I want to get to the more more cool stuff. So yeah, so 2017, perhaps one of the greatest moments in my career was playing Pink Floyd at the Albert Hall. It was just beyond my wildest expectations, and I'm so pleased, proud and privileged to have done that. And again, this was a great one to sort of experiment with tone and things like that. So at the beginning you've got like you've got a delayed effect. Stick a bit of chorus and delay on. And I've got like a foot pedal rigged down. Obviously you can't see it, and I've got a tap tempo. So I tap with my foot the minute the conductor drops his baton, and I can keep in time with the whole music. My delay is then in time, more to the point. You know, it goes on for quite a while, building, you know, kind of creating that mood. And you know, for those of you that know the song, you know how it kind of goes on and builds. Yeah, that was just good fun. Just, you know, Pink Floyd, love it, absolutely love it. And then of course we move on to the sort of main bulk of the song. We don't need no education. And it's in D minor. So you know, you think about what D minor chord you're going to use. You're going to use that one there. I wouldn't do that, no. Well, that's way too high. You want to kind of go sort of middle for diddle and, like, you know. So on and so forth. You know, it's I've added a bit of chorus as well, just to try and give it more of a you know, a Stratocaster type of guitar sound. And I'm fortunate to have coil taps on this Les Paul as well, so I can thin out my sound and sort of have a pseudo Fender guitar type of tone. And then of course we've got the yeah, it's just great. Again, I've got vivid memories of just, you know, getting through that rhythm, looking at the drummer and just really locking in and, you know, making it work and having such a good time. And then of course it was time to sort of up the gain, stand up and do, you know, one of the most iconic solos, you know, out there. And I did sort of labour over this and went to sort of like the original tab, the off the record tab, and seeing how Dave Gilmour did it. And try to replicate it as true as I could. Little known fact is that well, David Gilmour was quite synonymous with playing Stratocasters and things like that, but this solo was actually played on a 1956 Les Paul. It had different pickups with slightly less gain, but yeah, he was also a Les Paul man as well as a Strat man. So good old Dave Gilmour. So yeah. It's D minor blues basically. There's a couple of other notes in there, like yes, I think the third's in there. That plays quite a vital part. But yeah, it's just lots of bends. In fact, Dave Gilmour was very much known for what's called compound bending. So he could bend a string beyond a tone up, probably due to the strings that he used, but I use gauge 10 strings, slightly heavier, slightly more tension, so I had to kind of work around that and sort of like fret other notes and things like that. So yeah, so on and so forth. Great solo, and that was kind of like the zenith of that piece. It was so amazing. yeah, you can't sort of beat a bit of old Pink Floyd. So I'm going to finish up with repertoire with the Queen medley that we did, Queen Forever. This was 2013. Don't forget, all of these examples I've given are available on iTunes. You can view them on YouTube, and a lot of the MFM, if not all of them, will be available from the Blue Band shop. So please check that out on the internet and whatnot. This was a real challenge because there were so many different, there's about 5 or 6 different songs in it. It starts off with Flash. That was, pretty simple. All that kind of stuff, just sort of double stopping, just 2-note chords, that kind of thing. And then it moved on to Under Pressure. So that was just a nice bit of clean chorus, chord arpeggios. Don't Stop Me Now, I think that came next. And now the rhythm part of the song, the verse as it were, the arranger had put the chords in, but I wanted to stay true to the original. And legend has it again that apparently Freddie Mercury insisted that Brian May put no guitar on that track until the solo, so it really just punched out the speakers. So I just decided to sort of basically omit myself from the verse, because let's face it, you've got 140 other instrumentalists playing it for you, so you're just getting in the way. You can save yourself for the solo and really make an impact. And that's pretty much played all on, well, I just played it all on the G string, and it's kind of based in everything. So. Yeah, so again, that was like foot on a monitor type of stuff, and another great experience. Now it gets a little bit, well, it got a little bit tricky. So I think we had a bit of a lull. There was an oboe solo, Love of My Life. Now that gave me time then to detune my low E to D, to go into drop D, because Fat Bottom Girls was coming up. Now the arranger did it in E flat, so I had to drop to D and then stick a capo on the first fret to get me in E flat, because again I wanted that open string kind of authenticity that the song's actually got. So on went the capo. Yeah, played through that. Great. There's a great sax solo in it. Just good old rhythm playing. And then we obviously get to the pièce de résistance with Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, I had time to tune up and then blare out that solo, which was great. So probably good thing to finish on, really, providing I can nail it. So yeah, there we have it. Life as your guitar player in the band service. Let's quickly sort of summarise then. So we've looked at what styles and genres you're expected to play in the band service, and along with that, the syllabus that's used and certain methods. So cage method, yeah, get learning, get round it. We've looked at warm-ups and we've realised that I need to practice my warm-ups better. But don't forget to vary them, palm muting, triplets, different rhythm, things like that. Doubling notes, alternate plectrum technique or fingerings and whatnot. Yeah, we looked at repertoire. That was heavily involved with using the capo, alternate tunings. With the big band element, we kind of looked at chord voicings. Don't get freaked out by those crazy named chords. Start at the bottom, build them up. Take notes out that you don't need. Omit that fifth. There's no need for it. Get rid of it. Just get the colour in there. Third, seventh, ninth, that kind of thing. Economise on your playing as well, so you don't have to be running up and down the neck trying to find these chords. Find, sort of limit yourself to say like 4 frets. Can I get these 4 chords within these 4 frets along the strings, that kind of thing. That's kind of pretty much basically it. I've got 5 minutes left, so yeah, Philip _ King 26, thank you so much. No, thank you for watching. Yeah, keep the comments coming unless they've already stopped. I've seen a few ha-ha-ha's where I didn't play my scale so well, so yeah, I'll admit I'm no scale guru. What else we got? Graham Lloyd 125, thumbs up. Yep, thumbs up to you there, my good man. Don't forget, please stay on within when I sort of sign off. Band Corporal Amy Phillips will be on. She'll be answering more of your questions about life in the band service. Thanks for your time. Brilliant career in military music. That's Gary RJB1. You're right, military music, it is a brilliant career. Fallback Jack 46, is the telly done yet? Still working on it, but it's the garden's more important at the moment. What else we've got? Philip _ King again. What kind of level were you when you first joined? Good question. So when I first joined the band service, I just done my degree, so I had to be pretty sort of handy at the guitar. Again, I'll freely confess to not being a great reader, but obviously since I've joined up, I have. So yeah, you need to sort of be quite handy and sort of get around it. A Drink Water 1. What other instruments do guitarists play? I'm going to leave that one for Amy. I believe it's cornet or trumpet. We've got there Matthew Taylor 7599. What was on your pedal board? Lots of buttons and lights that do lots of crazy things and make crazy sounds. Adam.Lindsay 739. How did you join? Local careers office. My dad was ex-Navy, and he had a number that he gave to me, and I rang the then careers manager. Go to your local Armed Forces careers office, or indeed Amy will probably give you a website to go on. Hope that helped. Yeah, running out of time. Let's any more questions? Pigwald, will the band service buy any guitar you want? I guess within reason, maybe. Yeah, if you put forward a good case. Obviously, you want quite a versatile instrument. Like I said earlier, this one's got coil taps, so you can get kind of humbucker and single coil tones. It beats lugging around 2 guitars, doesn't it? So got about 3 minutes left before I've got to sign off. Quick drink. Yeah, so in the meantime, I hope you got something from that. I hope you found it entertaining. It's been great for me to sort of get out there during this very strange period of everyone's lives and get playing and sort of impart some knowledge. So yeah, if you're thinking about joining, stay online. Amy will answer some of your questions, and then just scour the net for the Royal Marines Band Service page. Don't forget, all the examples of repertoire I gave today are available on our MFM recordings, available via iTunes and the Blue Band shop, online shop, and on YouTube as well. Right, minute and a half left. Something about percussion there. Is it often that there is a lack of players thinking of joining as percussionist, but is it possible? I don't know. Again, stay online and pose that question to Amy perhaps. I'm sure she'll be able to help you. Right guys, I'm going to sign off. Thanks ever so much for having me. I hope you enjoyed it. Apologies for the few mistakes, but we're only human. It's live music anyway. Keep playing, look after yourselves. All the best now. Cheers and gone.